Our life following Jesus is like running a race. Has anybody ever run a race before? I did a lot of running, playing soccer in my early years, but I never competed in an actual race. Has anybody ever competed in a race? And I think it's a great analogy for vision, because why? Every race has a finish line. It has a destination in mind, right? But it also requires you to run the course. It has a mapped out course. It has a way to reach that destination, and that's what vision provides for you. It not only makes a clear destination of where you're going, but it provides a map to get to where you ultimately want to be. And that's what God wants to do through our lives, and that's why vision, in fact, the writer of Hebrews, the book, if you have a Bible this morning, you can turn here in Hebrews chapter 12. Hebrews chapter 12. The writer of Hebrews picked up on this analogy, and he says this, therefore, it's Hebrews 12:1. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and the sin which clings so closely, and let us, look at this, run with endurance the race that is set before us. In other words, it's running a race. And if you've ever run a race, if you've ever trained in that way, the way you actually run in competition is not necessarily the way you train. When I used to run, getting ready for soccer tournaments, okay, sometimes we would put on weight, sometimes we put on other things to give us strength or endurance in going. But when you get ready to run, you strip down and you get light, you travel light. And so by illustration-wise, I'm going to ask Nate Perez to come out. Nate, one of our employees here at Vertical. Nate was training to run the Boston Marathon. Just a joke, but listen. And so in essence, illustrating these ends, if Nate was preparing to run the Boston Marathon, would this be the way to approach it? Would this be the way? But unfortunately, see how he is? That's the way a lot of you attempt to run your Christian race. Because why? Some of you got a crutch that you're holding, and notice what this is, offense. Some of you have picked that up at church. And the bottom line is you have to actually learn to get rid of these things. You have to learn to lay them aside, because you're hobbling around in life on a crutch when you need to realize that those things will hold you back. Those things will ultimately get in the way of you reaching the destiny that God has for you. Or like this, I mean, who would run a race with carrying a bag? Unless you're running through the airport, okay? But that's the problem, is that a lot of you, if you're honest, we are in church, okay? You can be honest. Some of you are carrying baggage. Let's see what Nate had in his bags. Wow, okay. Here's one some of you are carrying. Anger. Yeah, it's a good rock, all right, because some people have gotten hit over the head with your anger. Okay, this is stuff that we carry. It's heavy, but others can get hurt when we start swinging it around. Or here's one, okay? This is a biggie. Envy. Yeah, you have a problem getting where you want to be because you're jealous of where everybody else is. And you're not satisfied where you are, and you're distracted. Because you spend too much time on Facebook or Pinterest wanting to be somebody else's life. And no. You need to get rid of that, because it's baggage that holds you back and holds you down. But that's not all the baggage that he's carrying. That's the obvious ones. When people have an anger issue, you don't usually need somebody else to tell you. Everybody else is kind of aware of that, okay? Because you're an anger episode going somewhere to happen, okay? People just don't want to get in the way of it. But look at how else he is. Notice what's on his back. And some of you have some more personal stuff that's strapped to your back that you're carrying around. It's a little closer. It's a little more personal on these ends. And so let's look in his bag and find out what's in this one. Ooh, this is a big one. Unforgiveness. A lot of you are carrying around this way. It has weighed you down. And man, you are so sure what other people have done to you that you are a victim. You can't move forward because you are weighed down by what has happened to you. You need to not allow what has happened to you to define you any longer. There's a time when you need to give it up. Or how about this one? Abuse. We've been abused, or we've been abusers. And the fact is, you need to get over it. You've got not let it be a label or a thing that weighs you down and holds you back. There is healing. That's the good news. That Christ came into the world to bring healing and forgiveness for us. Or how about this one, codependency? That's not one that a lot of people have done, but you cling. You're constantly, you're afraid to be alone. And you have this baggage that you carry. But sometimes it gets even more personal than that. You see, Nate's wearing a jacket, and most people would never run covering. But that's the way a lot of people come to church. Because you know what we're masters of as human beings? Hiding the things that we're ashamed of. We have been this way since the Garden of Eden. Because when issues happen in life, we don't want anybody else to know because we're scared. We're scared that people would judge us or people would reject us or something. So we hide, and we become masters at hiding. We put on a mask. We come to church, we pretend everything is all right, but yet we're actually carrying stuff. So take that jacket off. When you have the guts and willingness to say, you know what, I'm going to be free, and that's what my hope this year for you would be, that sometimes you realize, man, he's strapped down with weights. You couldn't see it before, but take this one off right in the middle. Because there's stuff that we carry that we would never let anybody else know. Stuff like eating disorders. Things that are like, man, whether I overeat or whether I eat too much and then binge and get rid of it. We have the eating disorders, stuff that we deal with. Or, look what's on his wrists. Stuff like this, depression. Some of you spend too much. Some of you you're on the internet all the time and you overspend all the time and you do your best to hide all those things. Or look, what about this one? Porn addiction. See, there's stuff that people are struggling with. Thanks, man. Give Nate a hand, would you please? Because that's hard, that's tough. And it's easier to look at somebody as an example, but to realize that in this room, there are things that a lot of you are carrying stuff around, stuff that you struggle with privately, stuff that you hold down. And so here's the point that I need you to gain today. If you're taking notes with me, this is so important. Fulfilling God's vision for our life means dealing with our past. Means dealing with our past. We all have a past. We all have things we've done that we're not proud of, things that we're ashamed of, things that we've covered up for. We've had things that we've said to people that we wish we didn't have said. We've had people that we've hurt we wish we didn't hurt. We've had things that we've done. We all have a past. We all have things in our lives. But you and I need to realize to fulfill God's vision, it means dealing with our past, not sweeping it away, not pretending like it's not. And that's the problem. When you put on a mask, when you play a game, you see, what I really want to help you with is that you have to resolve it. You have to get over it. You have to do away with it because listen to me. I need everybody's undivided attention. Every saint has a past and every sinner has a future.